Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Context is King. I'm Rebecca Brayton, and with me as always is WatchMojo founder and CEO Ashkan Karbasfrooshan to discuss inter-office dating in the context of an episode we just filmed about a Google chief counsel dating and impregnating a subordinate.
Ouch.
What? Is that not the story?
No, that is the story. So I think it's pretty obvious. We don't need to take too much time that anytime a superior dates a subordinate, that's just bad. I think post Me Too, I mean, going back to the old days when like the boss would eventually marry his secretary or whatever. I mean, those days are gone. It's not right, yada, yada, yada. I have a question for you though. Like, because as an employer...
Wait, do we have a rule about this?
What's the rule?
Does WatchMojo have like a
okay, well, we're going to talk about that. I think maybe it was more informal.
The fact that I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah, that's all. There's your answer, no. So, okay, realistically, you work, let's say, at a company, or you, for example, work at a company. It doesn't need to be WatchMojo here. And let's say you meet a guy or a gal, and you love him or her, or whatever. I don't want to start rumors. They're just trying to be reflective of 2019. But let's say the company has a policy that says you cannot date any colleague. Senior rank, lower rank, equal rank, another department. Let's start with that. Do you find that to be bullshit and you proceed still to date but on the quiet? Or are you like, that's bullshit but I respect it? Or is that just bullshit and that should not exist if you're in different departments, different ranks and whatever?
Well, I don't really see why different departments would matter, to be honest. So that is kind of bullshit. It's difficult because, like, if you really like the person, you have to see where it's going before it's even worth, like, one of you quitting. But, I mean, eventually, if that were the rule at the company I was working at and I decided it was worth it, one of us would quit.
Interesting. Okay. So I feel like by having such rules, we're animals. I've always said this. We have natural instincts. You're just, like, if people are attracted to each other, especially if they don't have the luxury of finding another job, then I'm like, well, they're probably still going to do things, but just kind of hide it, which I feel then becomes more of an issue because then there's office gossip, and then they're like, if you know that a couple is a couple, it's kind of like it neutralizes if somebody makes a decision or says something because it's out in the open. It's transparent. But if you're not sure, and then let's say Joe says, hey, I agree with Shelley, and you're like, oh, he's only doing that because they're a couple, I feel that's the problem. So we kind of had, I don't want to say a don't ask, don't tell. It was kind of like, I was like, people are adults. Unless it's a problem, I'm not going to get involved with your personal life, especially if there was no issue of rank. Obviously, I would say, hey, look, you can't date your employee. That's especially even before Me Too, but even after Me Too. But there's another dynamic. And this is all like general philosophies. I'm not necessarily talking on behalf of WatchMojo here. But let's say I ran a bar, which is a more sexual charged environment between clients and employees. So let's say a client comes and he's like wants to pick up the barmaid, so to speak. And so I feel like in that scenario, ironically, as much as you can't tell like the barmaid not to date the waiter or busboy, I feel there I may be more inclined to say we discourage it because then it creates jealousy, and if like the gal's doing her job and being charming with the staff to get a bigger tip or whatever, and the busboy doesn't like it, then I feel it may spill over more. It's kind of like why, since we at WatchMojo cover top 10s and pop culture, it's a very loosey-goosey product, and it's fun. Then I go, we should be disciplined and structured because otherwise it's a free-for-all. So I kind of feel like if you actually worked in a more sexually charged environment, then it's more important maybe to say, yeah, office, inner employee dating, we generally don't encourage it. But if you really bar it...
But is it only because you think that it will harm their relationship?
I think that then it'll spill over, where all of a sudden, like if he's not, like the busboy doesn't talk to the barmaid, there's a problem. Your operation doesn't run because he's jealous. If all of a sudden he gives the client a dirty look, you know what I mean? Whereas like in an office, if like the girl from accounting is dating a guy from legal, what's going to happen? Is the supplier going to be pissed? The guy who delivers the milk? You know what I mean? So I think it's just, anyway, these are my weird ways of thinking. Okay, but so ultimately, WatchMojo thus far has generally been, if you're an adult and you're a professional, it's none of our business until it's a problem. But obviously, I think that does say, like, you can, like you're not a subordinate. That I would generally say, not cool, not kosher.
Okay, fair enough.
Is that fair? Is that as a policy if somebody...
Sure, why not? I don't know. Never really come up. Anyway, let us know what you think in the comments.
Well, it hasn't come up maybe for you, but it's something we've definitely had to
I don't know.
think about to some extent.
Anyway, let us know what you think about inter-office dating in the comments, and we will see you next time. I don't know why that is hilarious.
Just find your reaction funny.